This is the all-new 2022 Honda Civic. Check this out. Honda has been selling a Civic here in America for 50 years. 50! This thing is officially golden. And the question becomes, is there any reason not to buy a new Civic? That's what we're gonna find out. While 50 years might sound like a long time, it doesn't sound that long when you consider that this is the 11th generation of Civic. Imagine that. They've done 11 generations of a car in only 50 years. My dad actually had one back in the 70s. When I was an infant, I used to ride around in the back of a yellow one. It was also a hatchback like this one. Obviously, the car's gotten a lot bigger and many things have changed. But you know, the basic idea remains the same, right? The Honda Civic is aimed at people who want a smart, practical, reliable, economical, and fun to drive piece of family transportation. Now, because it is a hatchback, this particular Civic has a very specific set of competitors. Those are the Toyota Corolla hatchback, the Mazda 3, the Mini Cooper, and the Subaru Impreza. Design-wise, there's been a lot of change from the 10th generation to the 11th generation Civic. It's a much more grown-up, much more mature car, and I think that's great in a segment that frankly needs to grow up a little bit. You know, you look at a lot of these cars and they're kind of childish and cartoonish, like, look at a Mini. Why is it smiling at you? I think the new Civic is a nice blend of the current Accord and what Cadillac is up to with the CT5, and I'll explain that in a second, but look at this front end. I mean, that's sharp, that's mature, I think it's handsome. This is done by a bunch of designers that are confident in their abilities and not afraid to show you that. Coming down the side, you know, there's some hard points here. This kind of screams out that it's front-wheel drive. Great looking wheels. Hondas tend to have good looking wheels. The sill is really nicely done, very sporty, kind of hides some of the size of the car a little bit. C-pillar, like I said, Cadillac CT5, and it's a mess. And look, let's be frank, it's hard to do C-pillars these days, especially on hatchbacks. You get a lot of lines that are kind of just all over the place and triangles and whatnot, but it all leads to this rear end, which is fantastic. I mean, we like hatchbacks. They remind us of SUVs, and think about it. You know, the sedan as we know it is dying. People willingly pay more money for an Audi A7 than an A6, even though fundamentally they're the same car. And you know, with the Civic hatchback, I think it looks better than the Civic sedan. And I think the Civic sedan looks better than the rest of the cars in this segment. Imagine for a moment you're a car designer from a company that competes with the Honda Civic. If you were sitting where I am right now, you'd start crying because this is so good. Again, this is a Honda Civic. Like, if Lamborghini came out with vents this cool, you'd be like, those are cool vents, Lamborghini. If BMW put the steering wheel on their cars, you'd be like, hey, great steering wheel, BMW. And again, it's a Honda. It's not even an Accord. This is just a Civic. This is a vehicle that starts at less than $25,000, and you get all this. I mean, everything you touch feels good. Even this groove plastic here around the cup holders doesn't need to be here. They chose to put it here, and it's great. These seats are great. Even if they were in a car that cost twice as much, you'd be thinking, these are great seats. And look, volume knob, and there's even like tuning buttons below that. Not the greatest nav screen, it's a little slow. At least it's bright and legible. Not a deal breaker by any means. Is there anything I don't like? It's just little things. Like for instance, you know, this binnacle here is pretty wide, so you have lots of storage space, which is good, but it kind of like bumps your knee, so on a long road trip, it might get old, but just small stuff like that. Otherwise, really comfortable up here, lots of room in the rear seat, and because it's a hatchback, if you fold down those rear seats, you have tons of cargo room. I'm just gonna say it, this interior is a game changer at this price point. As far as performance goes, if you were to look at the numbers on paper, they're really not that impressive. 1.5 liter turbocharged 4-cylinder engine makes 180 horsepower, 177 pound-feet of torque. It all goes into a CVT. That's a continuously variable transmission, the enemy of car enthusiasts everywhere. And of course, only the front wheels are powered. But the thing is, it's a Honda, and Like Porsche, like Mazda, Hondas tend to just drive a little bit better. They perform a little bit better. They handle a little bit better. So don't get bogged down by the numbers. Honda's found a way to make the CVT, well, it's bearable. In the car, in a straight line, 0 to 60 in 7.7 seconds, it's fine. It'll get you on the freeway just fine. But when you take it to the corners, it really does shine. You really realize, wow, they care about how this car drives. And then, as far as fuel economy, here's where the CVT pays off. We're talking 28 miles per gallon around town, 37 miles per gallon on the highway. As far as safety goes, this one comes with a bunch of automatic safety features, stuff like lane keeping assist, automatic emergency braking, and blind spot monitoring. How much? Okay, you can get into a base Honda Civic Hatchback for just over $24,000. If you want to step up to a sport touring hatch like this handsome blue guy sitting next to me here, it's nearly $31,000. But how does that stack up to the competition? It's more expensive. This thing is nearly $5,000 more than a comparable Toyota Corolla hatchback, and it's a couple grand more than the rest of the competition. But here's the thing, according to not only me, but my colleagues here at MotorTrend, the new Civic is worth it. If there's one thing I want you to know about the all-new 2022 Honda Civic, it's that it's still the best car in its segment. Back when there was a 10th generation Civic, we did one of our big tests, and we had, I think, 7 other competitors, and I can't even remember who got second place. And you know what? It doesn't matter. That car was the best, and the new one is better still. To summarize this thing, I think it's a great design. The interior is a game changer. It's wonderful to drive. It gets good fuel economy, and it's worth the money. Bottom line, if you buy yourself a new Honda Civic, you're gonna love it. To see vehicle rankings and a complete buyer's guide, please visit motortrend.com/cars.